Okay, and we're live.
Sweet.
Okay, hi Vincent.
Hi, Sammy. How are you? Thanks for having me here today.
Of course, thanks for wanting to learn how to knit. I know as a crocheter, it's kind of intimidating because you're going from one hook to two and you're really afraid stitches will fall off and stuff, but I promise it's really not that scary.
Yeah, it's been 8 years coming. I've been crocheting for 8 years, but it's time. I have one more year till my 30s, so I think that'll be a good decade of knitting, perhaps.
It's definitely good for different things, like amigurumi, your kind of stuff. I always prefer crochet, but for wearables, there's a lot you can do and you get a really nice drape to fabrics when you
Yeah, the
use
drape.
knitting.
Yeah,
So, all
yeah,
right.
the drape and the stitches
So,
look beautiful.
yeah, and it's like so easy. It's a lot different from crochet too because crochet is about the individual stitches and knitting is more about using two basic stitches and different repeats and patterns to create different technically stitches, which is exactly what the Easy Peasy Scarf is. It teaches you the stockinette stitch and the garter
Hmm.
stitch, which are the two most popular knitting stitches and probably the ones that when you're a beginner, you're going to be using the most. So
Cool.
let's do our material check first to make sure we have
Material
everything
check.
that we need before we get started. First of all,
Yes,
do you have
please.
the pattern in front of you?
Yes, I do. I have the pattern that I have it open in front of me and the interactive format on Ribblr. So I was able to find that on the Darn Good Yarn shop. So I'm all set there.
Sweet. And it's a really simple pattern. You probably will have it memorized by the end of this because it's just an 8-row repeat where it's a 4-section and a 4-section. So it's
Okay,
really
cool.
easy. So you have your yarn too, which I think
Yes,
you have watercolors. Is that right?
yes, yeah, definitely. This one, out of your entire catalog, I usually work with a lot of the colors when I'm making dolls, so this definitely felt like my vibe. Wearing it
I'd love to
wise,
see I'd love to see what you
definitely.
make with that, like an amigurumi with that. That'd be
Yeah,
very
it'd be
cool. And I'm working
cool.
do it. I'm working with Mist, and this is the worsted weight silk roving, and it's all made out of recycled silk, which is really cool. I'm going to make sure I have a good starting point because I showed Vincent how to open up a cake from the center, and then I mashed up my own cake in the process.
Oh no.
So, I know, I got it a little bit too, there we go. I got it a little bit too unwound for the center pull. So we have our yarn, which I just threw on the floor. And then we need our 8mm, either circular or I say flat. It's actually straight needles, but you knit flat with them. So I call them the wrong thing. It's okay. So you
Okay,
have them.
so
And then if you're using circulars, make sure you use that little metal. It's called a key. Make sure you tighten it in that little hole right there. It will keep your circular cord from coming off the knitting needles, which is super sad if that happens, but it's fixable. Everything is fixable. But if you can avoid a headache, please do.
okay,
Scissors,
perfect.
tapestry needle, and then we're going to make mistakes and fix them so they're not scary if they happen without intending to do them. So an 8mm or similar size, 7mm, 8.5mm, just similar enough size to the knitting needles that you'll be using. So I have this one here, and it's one of the ones from Darn Good Yarn. It's really pretty. It's resin and wood.
Perfect. Wow,
So
okay. So for the audience, I was gifted a whole set of knitting needles, which is very exciting for me. And you said the size I should be going for is an 8mm for this?
yes, we are going, it's a lot bigger than you would normally work with worsted weight. But when you're just starting with knitting, typically people tend to get really tight tension. So if we can use a bigger needle, that's going to work a little bit better for us. It's also easier when I flip down and show you what I'm doing. It's going to be a little bit easier for you to visually see what I'm doing as well.
Okay, perfect. And for the viewers here, to make it's like a rectangular scarf, am I always going to have to use circular needles, or can I do them
No,
off?
no, I do prefer when you are learning to use circulars like this because I know one of the scary things, especially if you're like a crocheter and you're like, I'm not used to having all my stitches on the hook. It
Uh-huh.
is really hard to lose stitches when you're connected in the middle, as opposed to having
Oh,
two separate ones and they can slide off. So I like to, at the end, if I stop in the middle of a project, I like to slide the work all the way down to this circular cord part And then I know it's safe on there. It's not going to be near the edges and slide off.
That's cool. That's really
Yeah,
cool.
so see, I'm trying to help out as much as I can. But if you have straight needles, those are perfectly fine as well. Just make sure if you stop in the middle of the project, which is a scarf, if you do it in one sitting, you're like a super person. Like that's a lot of work.
Right.
But just make sure you push them all the way towards the end with the knob, not the end with the point, because you'll find out that that's a really good way to pull it out of the place that you have it stored and lose all your stitches.
Perfect. Okay,
So,
I was able to pull this out of the center. I have my big hook, which is beautiful. I also got my own. Very cool. Very pleasantly, like, kind of an awe how cool this is. And then I have my knitting needles, and I think I'm ready.
yes. So, slip knot to start. Don't make it too tight. So, slip knot, you make your loop. I go put tail side in. There you go. Slide it on your right needle. And you don't want to pull it so it's super tight. You want it to have a little bit of looseness.
And does my tail matter? It's kind of a longer tail. Does that matter?
That's okay. Just don't start casting on, which is what you begin with. Don't start casting on with your tail by accident because then you're going to have to like undo it. That's another thing. I'm going to flip my camera down so it's a little bit easier to see. So I'm going to do that.
Cool. And I hope everyone else in the chat and the viewers are excited to be learning knitting, just as excited as I am. So hopefully we can see your work. If you're in the pattern, you can actually create a journal and show us your progress and what you've made. And when making a journal, you can actually be entered in to win some prizes. So make sure to do that feature on Ribblr. Awesome. And we get the hand cam. Cool.
Yes, yeah. This I feel like is going to be the most helpful to show you everything. So we have our slip knot on our right needle, and our right needle is our active needle, and our left needle is our resting needle. So that means our right needle is going to be doing all the stuff when we're knitting, and the left one's just going to be holding stitches, waiting for them to come off.
Okay, so my right hand manipulates everything, and my left is just there for support.
Yep, and I'm a lefty, so I was like, oh, this is going to be terrible. Oh. Actually, it like depending on how you learn, some people actually knit the opposite way, but most people typically use right hand needle as the active needle.
Yeah, I'm a dominant right leg person, but I scooter and bike and everything with my left leg. So I hear you on that.
That's called goofy, right?
Yeah, when I skateboard, everyone was exactly. Wow, I feel almost kind of called out for that.
No, that's just because I know that because my husband's like, oh, I do this goofy, and I'm like, what does that mean? And he had to explain it to me.
That's so funny. That's cool that you know that. Okay, so I'm ready.
Okay, so this is called the backwards loop cast on, and it's probably one of the easiest kinds of cast on that you can do in knitting. So what you're going to do is take your left hand, you're going to hold it out in front of you like this with your thumb facing out towards the right. Then you're going to drape, make sure it's not the tail, drape the working end of yarn over top of your thumb, and then you're going to twist your hand like this. Okay, and you're going to go from the outside of the thumb, you're going to grab this piece of yarn, and you're going to scoot it on the needle.
Okay.
I know it's kind of like when you do the cat's cradle stuff with your hands as a kid. It feels really weird at first, but you start flying through it. Then drop your thumb out and pull the working end of yarn. And you should have 2 loops on the needle now.
Perfect. Okay.
You did it. Okay, so now you have 2 stitches. So we're going to do the pattern is to cast on 20. You can, if you want to just do this as practice, you can cast on less so we can try to get through more material. It depends on how you feel, Vincent.
I think I can do. I mean, the fact that I already got this casted on, I already kind of feel like a pro. So I'm surging with confidence. So I think I can do it.
It goes, once you get like the muscle memory, it's very fast. So again, left hand over the thumb, bring the right needle around, grab that outside loop, drop your thumb out, and pull the working end.
Oh.
And again, if anything, like if you join the video late, if you miss something or need to see something, the interactive pattern on Ribblr has videos for pretty much everything, and the hands will look familiar. The everything will look familiar because it's me. So we have, I'm just going to keep going through, and I'm going to go pretty slowly at first, but then I'm going to pick up the pace a little bit because sometimes things click with me more if I see them at a more real-time speed rather than slow down.
Oh my gosh, I'm getting it.
You've got it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm counting. I try not to count out loud because if you're going to be counting too, I know what that's like. That's like, stop.
So this is casting on right now?
Yes, this is casting on, and there are about 1,000,001 different ways to do this in knitting. This way is good for things like scarves where you don't need stretch. There are some casting on methods that you use, like long tail cast on, provisional cast on, that have a bit more stretch and elasticity to them. So for things like, think about sweater sleeves. You definitely want them to have some stretch, so they like stretch and go back, or else your sleeves are all going to be like bell sleeves, and you don't always want that.
And since we're doing 20, these should all fit on my... Oh, okay, if I scrunch it, all fits, yeah.
Yeah. Yep, and just, slide them down as you need to. And it's okay. We're going to show you how to fix mistakes or anything that comes up so it's not scary. I'm going to eventually have to count these.
I know some of the viewers are probably hiding under their blankets so scared, like a thunderstorm. But don't worry.
I wonder how many viewers are like a crocheter who was just interested in knitting and joined, because I mean that's how I got into knitting, as a crocheter first. So I can kind of sympathize with all like the nuances of it, and you're like, oh, the intimidation of it.
Okay, 18, I have 19. 20. Wow.
Cool.
Nice.
That looks really cool. You've got like the full rainbow going.
I know, and for everyone wondering, I'm not a paid actor. This is actually my first time picking this up right now. So, wow. If I can do it, y'all can do it.
So you just did casting on. And now what you do to... Yes, what we're going to do is we're going to start on row 1, and row 1 starts our 4-row section that makes up garter stitch. And that just probably sounded like a whole bunch of gibberish. But garter stitch, all it is knitting every row. And that's all it is. And so sometimes when you see like patterns written with knitting and you're like, what is a garter stitch? It's actually not an individual stitch. It's knitting every single row. So to how we get to that point, you're going to turn. Now this is all the stitches are on. It becomes your resting needle. So we make it be on the left, always with the point facing the right.
Okay.
And then we want to make sure the most important thing, my crochet hook's getting rogue. The most important thing when you knit is to have your yarn in the back. So you want your yarn behind the active needle that's going to be on the right.
Okay, I think I'm going to need a visual on that.
Sure. So this would be yarn in front. So the yarn is in front of that active needle on the right.
Oh.
Yarn in the back. Yep, you just want to make sure you're working in front of the yarn.
Okay, so I just don't have to, as long as like my fingers holding this back, it just don't touch that working yarn. Okay.
Yes. So now it's about tension. So I hold tension in my right hand, mostly because I'm a left-handed crocheter, but you can also hold it in your left hand. And to throw some terms out, if you hold tension in your right hand, that's English style. If you hold tension in your left hand, that is continental style. And it's all based on preference. Yeah. I know, I don't want to throw too many terms out.
As a right-handed crocheter, what would be like the default that
I think you would probably feel more comfortable because you probably hold tension in your left hand.
Yeah.
You might want to try it that way. I know I am so super slow when I work this way. It's actually like technically people say it's faster, but for me, I'm like, there's no way. There's just my brain is like, no, it absolutely not. So if you want to try holding it like this, similar to knitting, or sorry, similar to crochet, where you want to be close enough to be able to pinch your hook.
Right.
This is a needle, but I'm using crochet terms for you.
Thank you. Okay. So I get that.
Now,
okay.
I'm going to hold it on my right just because I want to be able to properly show you and not be like struggling through the whole time.
Totally.
So now you get to have a choice for your narrative of how you're going to learn how to knit. I want you to pick between a bumblebee, a woodpecker, or a hummingbird. And all this does is change the little narrative.
I'm going to go with the bumblebee because we got to save the bees.
Yes, okay. So your right needle, this is your bumblebee, okay?
Right. Okay.
So your bumblebee goes into the flower, so through that from the front.
Okay.
He scoops up some pollen.
Wait, hold on.
So for you, you're going to do, yep, for you, yep. You want the working yarn to be sandwiched between the two needles.
Okay, so now I'm going to go in front of that needle.
Mm-hmm.
Behind needle, okay.
Yep, he scoops up some pollen. He comes out of the flower through the front again.
Okay, hold on.
And then, yep, they're kind of crisscrossed at this point. They crisscrossed for you?
Oh, oh gosh. Hold on.
That's okay. We can start over.
Okay, I'm back to. Let me go back to where I was. Okay, let me walk you through my mindset. So, I have it all here. I'm holding my tension. I take my needle and I go underneath that first loop. Okay.
I'm going to hold it continental style for you. Don't make fun of me if I'm really slow.
So it's this part now where it's crisscrossed and I've wrapped around the front, and then what?
So I'm actually, my body's like, don't even try that right now. Okay, so we've crisscrossed it. It's sandwiched between, and then we're going to take the right needle, the active needle, and we're going to bring it back out front with that loop that we put on it.
Oh, okay, I think I'm holding my yarn like a little too far behind. Okay.
Yeah, definitely like hold it pretty loose, because at first when you're learning knitting, you're gonna be holding pretty tight tension.
Okay, I think I did it. Okay, next step.
Next step is, this is the scary part. He flies away. So you're gonna pull that right needle to the right and drop that loop that you went through off the left hook.
Okay.
So do you have one loop on your right hook now?
I do.
You do.
Yes.
There you go. You did your first knit stitch.
Oh wow. Okay. Okay.
And it's like, it's a muscle memory thing. So we have our bumblebee.
Okay. Go underneath.
He goes into the flower, scoops up some pollen, sandwiched between the two. Then he comes back out of the flower and flies away.
Hold on.
The first.
Oh gosh.
Oh no!
I'm not a fan of. Well, no. At this very moment, the scooping is hard. Okay, so I wrap.
It doesn't feel natural when you crochet, because you're actually, okay, if you are holding tension in your left hand, you're actually going to be doing, it's more like a yarn under.
Yeah, it kind of feels that way, but look at me. Okay, I got two loops.
There you go. Okay, you've got two of them.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not gonna use words. I'm just gonna show you and really like slow. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So you went under. Okay. Yeah. Okay. My brain understands that. Now it's getting my hands to kind of follow the movement.
I know it's. And then there's like the little nuance things again. I've noticed I do this after I'm done a knit stitch. I kind of push the back, that bump, which is actually like a purl stitch. I push that bump down so all my stitches kind of align, and that helps with the tension too. I'm not.
Okay.
We'll get to the nuances after the basics.
So I'm holding with my left hand, and when am I wrapping it from the front, or am I wrapping it from the back to the front?
Let me attempt to do this continental
style
for you. Here we go. Okay, so I'm holding tension with my left hand.
Yeah.
I'm going through, and then I'm putting it over top like this.
There we go. That makes sense. Okay.
It's more of a flicking, rather. It's called like flicking rather than like the different way that you do with English style. There we go. But then you can see my hands are like, no, and they fight me.
Okay, so I have, wow, holy, I can't believe this is happening. Oh no, they can't see it. I messed up on the stream, but For everyone who can see, I now have 4 loops on it, so that's looking okay.
Yeah.
So when do my knitting needles start to make that fun clacking sound?
That's when you pick up. Let me see if I can get some ASMR of that for you.
Wow. Free
I am not.
ASMR.
I am not a fast knitter either. It doesn't matter about speed. I think knitting is just naturally a little bit slower than crochet too, because you use a lot less yarn when you do it. So it's smaller stitches. And that's why you can get more of a drape to fabrics a little bit easier than the more structured, bigger stitches of crochet. But
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's pretty cool when you look at like the science behind it. But that also
And it's
means
a
crochet projects take like 2/3 more yarn than knitting projects do. So if
that's
you
what I
learn to
hear.
knit, you save yarn.
So all my loops are starting to fall in my circular needle part. That's okay? Is that why this is here?
That's why it's your safety net. Yeah, it's okay.
Oh man. All right, everyone. As someone who's now starting knitting, I can now understand. I didn't understand the point of the circle part. I thought it was kind of like for those crocheters out there when you work in the round. I kind of thought that's what it was for, but safety net, got it. This is perfect because I would be totally a mess if I did not have this right now.
It's also for working in the round too. That's how you do it. You do it with either the double pointed needles or with working with circulars. But when you're doing like really teeny tiny things like working in the round making socks, you kind of at some point you're going to have to use the double pointed needles, and those are very intimidating because both ends are pointy, meaning you could very easily lose some stitches.
You heard it here first, folks.
So if you're like, hey, my first project, I want to do some socks, please don't. Like, just save
I,
yourself.
I
Save
have
yourself from
still
that.
8 years of crochet, and I still have yet to. I've yet to make socks or granny square. I think those are like the only 2 things I've never made yet.
Someone who's been crocheting for since I've been young and for like over 20 years at this point, like I only made a granny square probably 2 to 3 years ago because I just was like, I don't know, what am I going to use this for? And then I was like, oh no, these are really fun. Oh no, these are fun.
I always hear that same sentiment, like how fun they are, and like the pants and sweaters people make with them look incredible and trendy.
So your first row is the tension's going to be kind of wonky between all the stitches. You're going to feel like, wow, did I drop something? Like, why is there this big gap? That's just because we used the backwards loop cast on and because it's the first row and it always kind of gets a little wonky. So don't feel
Okay.
like scared if that's happening.
And I hope that gives confidence to all our viewers. And if you are watching on Ribblr and you want to show us your progress, definitely create a journal within the pattern, show us, and we'll be choosing winners for some prizes next week. So excited to see
Yes.
progress.
Yeah, I think 3 winners will get an editor's box, which is like $200 value of all this beautiful yarn from Darn Good Yarn. There's some notions in there. There's a ton of fun stuff. And it doesn't have to be a finished project. I think the end date you can submit your journal is February 12th, and it can be a work in progress as well.
Yeah. So even if, like we appreciate you just giving it the old college try and, trying. You don't have to finish anything off. And I received my packages from Darn Good Yarn, and honestly, it's incredible. I'm really happy with the feeling of the yarn. You said it was recycled silk, yeah?
Yeah, it's recycled. It's all eco-friendly. It's made by our artisans in India.
Oh,
And we're
nice.
really passionate about like sustainability and working to make sure that there's fair and ethical treatment of the workers who are creating the yarn. So that's like a huge thing for us.
Oh, good. Yeah. So if anyone wants to kind of take a break from like all the acrylic commercial yarn, myself included, this is a really, really nice freshen up. So highly
It's
recommend getting a journal.
super soft.
Yeah, it is really soft. It is really, really soft.
And I've noticed you don't get as much of that squeakiness as you get with acrylic.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that sound. People are like, oh, just wipe your crochet hook or your needles or hook with your hair and it'll get rid of it.
Yeah.
And I can't say I've
It's
ever
like
had
no,
results
no
with that.
it's like also like ew. No thanks.
Yeah.
What if you're gifting the project to someone, you're like, oh, don't worry, it's
Uh,
just hair gel. Like, ew.
Just hair gel. Okay, I'm done.
You did it. Okay, cool. I waited in the last stitch in case you were like, what happens now? Okay, so you just did your first row of knit, which is our garter stitch section. And you know what you're going to do now?
What's that?
The same thing again. Yeah.
Okay.
So you're going to take your active needle. Now it's your resting needle. You're going to go over. And then you're going to flip it so that the point faces the right.
Okay.
Make sure your yarn is behind. So you bring your needle in front of it. And then you're just going to do the same thing for this row and then 2 more rows for 4 rows total.
I can't believe I'm actually like getting it.
It's definitely like once you get it, you're like, okay, this isn't so bad. And after this next round, after this next row rather, I'm going to show you what to do in case you drop a stitch, and it's really not the end of the world. And that's like the #1 thing that kept me from knitting is I was like, well, they're all on here. What if I drop a stitch? Do I have to start over? Do I have to frog the entire thing? And it's actually like really easy to fix mistakes, and it involves crochet needles, which I was like, okay, I'm comfortable with that. I know that.
Okay, yeah, I always hear the kind of like horror stories of knitting, and it's people say it's like not as forgiving as crochet, and you know people end up in tears. So definitely, hopefully we can alleviate that with some of your tutorials to show that it's not so a lost cause at a certain point.
Yeah, and I like breaking things in a controlled way so I don't freak out and panic when they break out of it intentionally happening. So it's a lot less intimidating if you break something on purpose and then you know how to put it back together and then it happens on accident. You're like, okay, I've done this before. I'm not going to freak out. I know I just do this, this, and this.
Oh, perfect. Okay. And for the viewers who are watching this tutorial, let us know if you have any questions or even tips for a novice like myself that I might be missing. And yeah, this is cool.
It's so very like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, if people ask me like, how do I knit? I'm doing it continental style or?
Yes, think about it like this. Like England is on the right of us, and continental, like US, we're on the left.
Okay.
If you look at like a globe.
Oh, so that's what that all means.
It makes sense now.
And is that like the equivalent of someone being like, I crochet spoon or knife?
Yes. Do you crochet spoon or knife? Or I thought it was pen or knife.
Oh, is it? I always heard it was spoon, I think.
And maybe that's like a West Coast, East Coast thing.
Maybe. Huh.
Spoons versus pens.
I think when I crochet, I'm doing this knife hold, but I do think it's really cute when people do it with like the other way.
I think it looks very dainty. And I definitely hold it. I think I do if I were to crochet right now. Yeah, I hold it like that.
Just aggressively.
Yeah, it's like knife hold.
Okay, so my next question is, when I'm knitting, I noticed that this like bottom part that's like kind of like the thick part is like starting to kind of wrap around my needle. Do I want it to always be facing like the right? Do I want it to be facing my right hand or?
I usually work, and I think this is just personal preference. I have the stuff that I already worked on facing towards my left hand, so facing towards that resting needle. And then I kind of let me show you the nuance thing, because I'm about to start row 3, if you're okay with me going to row 3 to show you this.
Yeah, I'm just trucking along.
Okay, so I'm on row 3. I will show you I'll get a couple stitches in, because then I want to show you the little nuance thing that I do that kind of helps turn the stitches so they're all facing the same way. And then I'm going to show you how to break it so we can fix it. So I am just about to finish a knit stitch. And what I do is I pull it, and this is one of those weird things you only notice after you're like breaking down every single step of what you're doing. I drop it off my left needle, and then I use my middle finger and I kind of push this back bump, which is actually like the purl part of it. I push it towards the left, so it eventually it turns all my stitches so they face the same way. And it's just kind of like
Oh,
one of those things that just like I got in the habit of doing it, and it helps you keep an even tension too.
okay, cool. Cool. That's
So
good
yeah.
to know. That's helpful. That's gonna be helpful for me because I definitely noticed it all just getting kind of like warped, I guess.
Yeah, so you can stop and like just if it's really bugging you, it doesn't matter because you're not working. If you're working in the round and you need to join it, you've gotta like that's one of the pain things. You have to make sure they're all facing the same way before you try to join it in the round, or you're gonna get a twist in it.
Hmm.
But when you're working flat, it's just a matter of kind of straightening them out before you start the next row.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Okay, cool. And I hope that was helpful for everyone tuning in. Great stuff. And we'll for sure be making sure we upload some of these snippets onto our Instagram account, TikTok account, YouTube as well, just in case you've missed it or you're just coming in now. So nothing will be wasted.
Yes. Let me know when you are on your row 3 and you're about halfway through the row. You
Okay,
don't have to exactly count up 10, about halfway.
so this is technically I'm still my round 2, correct?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. Yeah. Holy, this is pretty cool.
Yep, and I'll put this down while you're still working so I can kind of give everyone a visual of what garter stitch looks like after
Yeah, that'd be
those
great.
4 rounds. So here is the finished scarf. And this is what you can kind of see. This is kind of like where we're working right now. Garter stitch it looks the same on the right side, which is this side, and the wrong side, which is this side. And the wrong side, because we did stockinette and garter, the wrong side will have a lot more of these bumps, which are purl stitches. So you can pretty easily tell apart the right side and wrong side of this project because of that stockinette section. If it was all garter stitch, the whole thing would look pretty much the same because you're alternating between doing a knit, which is right side on each side, and you're flipping it in between. So each side is kind of acting like the right side when you're creating it. But when you do stockinette, that's when you're going to learn purl stitch. And that's when you have one definite right side and one definite wrong side.
Oh, wow. Kind of okay. Row 2 is done. I feel like I'm not making a whole lot of progress. Is that something that people are gonna feel if you're in my position?
It's a lot slower than crochet. It's kind of like one of those things where it's slower to master, but once you like get the 2 basic stitches down, you can fly through it. Whereas crochet, there are about, I don't know, 1,000 different types of crochet stitches that you can learn.
Right,
And
yeah, that
like
sounds.
every single pattern is way different. Like this pattern is pretty much like 8 lines, which is like knit, purl, knit, purl, and that's like it. And you can get something that looks like pretty different for the different sections of it, and it's just 2 different stitches.
That is so fascinating. Wow. So based off of my work that you see so far, does it look like I have? What are your comments on my tension?
Your tension is pretty tight, but that's to be
Okay.
expected because you are just learning knit, and that is something that every single person, I think, regardless of whether you do continental or English style with how you hold your tension, it's just something that happens because you're kind of like you're very tense when you're holding it, and you're like, I don't want to drop these stitches off the end, and the tighter that these stitches are, they're not coming off. And I think that's something like subconscious when you're making it, because you can see like mine are just kind of like very stretchy.
Yeah, it doesn't help that I'm a doll maker either, where I'm just like so naturally trying to keep everything really tight.
So with crochet, are you team yarn under when you're making amigurumi or team yarn over?
Team yarn over for sure. Or yeah, team yarn over because whenever I'm teaching, I'm like it's yarn over, just like go under. I feel like yarn under just like creates one extra like wrap that is just like kind of confusing for new people.
Yeah, and if you're just starting out and you like learn yarn under for one project and you aren't making amigurumi and you move on to something else and it's just single crochet, it's like it'll look completely different because it's yarn under as opposed to yarn over.
It does look different. I know some people, if you go yarn under though, it like fixes some consistency issues for some. I don't really know the science behind it, honestly. It just kind of like
I think it makes an X shape as opposed to making like the typical single crochet shape.
I see. Okay, so I think I'm about halfway through my row 3.
Okay, so now we're gonna do the scary stuff. We're gonna break it so we can fix it. So
oh no.
You can put your work I know. Put your work down, and you're gonna make sure you have your crochet hook handy. Again, 8mm, 7mm, 8.5mm, just a similar size, so you can get a similar size loop. So how we're gonna break it is we're gonna on the left needle on the resting needle, which you can tell if you put it down and pick it back up and you're like, oh my gosh, what side was I working on? Your active side will have the working yarn hanging from it. So that's something else for newbies. So we're gonna take that last loop. I know this feels like so wrong. You're gonna take it, you're gonna slide it off, and you're going to pull out that last one. Make like that.
Holy, okay.
I know. It's scary, but you're controlling it, so it's a lot less scary than if it happens on accident.
Okay, so I take off this loop for sure. And then I undo it. Okay.
Yes, and then let's stick our crochet hook through that loop that we saved. Okay. So this is fixing a knit stitch. So to fix a knit stitch, we want to make sure that we have this big loop that fell out. We want it to be behind that loop that we caught. So like, if you need a visual, here you go. So this is the stitch that, that's the stitch that fell out.
Before I put my crochet hook in, I should make sure that long one is behind the loop.
Yep, even if it's accidentally in front, you can always scoot it over the back. That's why crochet hooks are great, because they have that top that keeps this one from falling out.
Oh, okay, perfect. Okay, so I have this.
Okay, so now we're gonna flip that hook backwards so we can grab that yarn behind it. And this is very hard to hold like this in slow motion.
And
then we're gonna
pull it through.
Pull it through, and look, we made a little knit stitch.
Okay.
So this is twisted the wrong way, and we know that because see how it's facing towards the right, and all the other ones are facing towards the left.
Right.
So we're going to make sure that when we put it back on, that we have this right leg of the loop in the front. And I can break this as many times as you need me to fix it again.
Oh, I think I did it. Okay. Okay, I guess now I'll only know if I did it correctly if I continue and see if it worked. So I just put it back on my loop, right? And we're just back to...
But actually, we're going to break it again.
Oh.
We're going to break it again because we are actually going to learn how to fix a purl stitch, because I want to make sure I cover this and make sure we have enough time to fix it, okay? So we're going to break it again. I know you're like, we just fixed this. We're going to break it again. So we're going to do the same thing. Take that last loop, take it off, pull that string out. We have our loop, and we have this dropped stitch right here. And then for the purl stitch is just like the backward side of a knit stitch. So you're going to do the opposite. So this is going to be here in the front instead. Okay. I'm going to grab. We have our loop. Actually, I will come at it from, here we go. Okay. You're going to have to come at it from back there. And then now you can see this is a purl stitch because it has that bump, that purl bump.
Okay, so same thing, just pull it through with my hook.
Pull it through with your hook. make sure that it's facing towards the left. So that right leg of the loop is going to be towards you.
Yeah.
Slide it back on, and then it's fixed.
Oh wow. Okay. Okay. I
See,
really thought like
no,
that's not bad.
and honestly, if you ever make a wrong stitch, like you knitted when you should have purled, or you purled when you should have knitted, what you can do is you can unpick it in that way, and you can just fix it rather than having to frog rows and rows of stuff, which is cool. Because crochet, if you mess up like a stitch or a series of stitches, you're having to frog a whole bunch.
Yeah, it feels real bad.
So it's kind of easier to fix mistakes in knit, which you wouldn't think it would be. But we're going to leave this as a purl stitch because we are on the 3rd row, which is on the wrong side. So we're going to leave it fixed as a purl, and then you can just continue on with knitting.
So is what I'm feeling right now called passion, because this is pretty fun.
It's pretty fun. I mean, as someone who like crocheted a lot longer than I knitted, I definitely find myself picking up like knitting needles a lot more than I thought I would. I thought I would just be like, I'll learn it to know it, but it's really fun.
Right, that's kind of the mindset I kind of figured I would be in, but maybe it's just exciting to just pick up a new skill because crocheting, I'm like technically quote unquote a professional, so I have my style, I have my kind of way of doing things, so there's no quite those neurons are not firing off of my brain as much as it used to, so this is pretty cool.
It's good because it stretches your fiber arts muscles in a different way, and you definitely like you start picking up on the things like using your finger to like twist the stitch after it comes off and make them all face the right way, and then stopping every once in a while and you kind of like scoot your stitches down. Like those are little things that you pick up as you like pick up a little bit more speed when you do things.
Yeah, I'm definitely realizing I'm like picking up my stitches like halfway, if not lower than halfway of my knit needle. So then it's kind of a struggle to get it off of it at that point.
And the more and more you do it, the more comfortable you feel with like working closer and closer to the very edge. Because that's like another thing when you first start out, you're like, I'm going to work from all the way down here, and there's no way I'm going to knock any stitches off if I work from all the
Right.
way down here. And then that's when your tension gets nuts. But if you're also struggling with really tight tension, you can try to hold your needles in more of like a T when you use them. So
Oh.
leave your resting one like this and kind of come at it like that, and that'll kind of help regulate tension too.
Oh, okay, perfect. Cool. Wow. So for this pattern, am I just doing this though? There's some texture in it though, right?
Yes,
Like,
yes, correct. So we have done 3 rows, and let me get my example out. So this is garter stitch, which is 4 rows, but you actually knit 5 rows, but I wanted to like differentiate the two because that 5th row, although it's still a knit, you're back on the right side, so it's part of the stockinette section. So
oh.
it's yes, so you're actually going to knit for 5 rows, but that 5th row is going to start that stockinette section, which is where you will learn how to purl. And honestly, purl is just working with the yarn in front and coming at it from the back instead of from the front.
Oh, okay. Sweet. I just finished my row 3, and just based off for the viewer time, I know we only get like an hour sitting in here. We have 12 more minutes for here. I just
Would you like
finished
to
my row
learn how to
3.
purl?
I think I would, just to make sure
Okay.
we get that,
And I
because
definitely want to show how to cast off, because that's like one thing is you can make something and then you're like, cool, it lives on the needles forever, I guess.
perfect. So let's learn both of those things, and then I might off camera just re-pick up the project and work on it.
This is all about learning. So
Yes.
you're ready to start purling. You're going to make sure, number 1, yarn is in the front.
Uh,
So that means I kind of put it all the way off here. And then you're going to be coming at your stitches. You know how you came at it from the front like this for knit?
yeah.
Purl is the opposite. Purl is actually just the back side of a knit. So you come at it like this from the back,
Oh.
Again, coming through that front loop just from the opposite direction.
Oh, okay. So it's definitely some strain on my circular thingy. That's normal.
That you might want to just scoot your stitches up a little bit closer on that back. There you go.
Okay. And then I almost like want to hold it like a pen.
It's definitely, you hold it a little bit differently because yeah, you're coming at it from this way and then coming at it from behind with the purl stitch. I'll show you the whole purl stitch and no talking because I think that worked well for you before.
Okay. Oh, okay. So it's coming from there. Oh, okay. That makes sense.
It's
Okay.
literally just a backwards knit. That's all. Making sure you have your yarn in the front when you start it.
So when I go underneath, my yarn I'm holding with my left hand is going to go in the front of my needle.
Yep, you always want to make sure it's sandwiched between the two.
Oh, that feels...
regardless of whether it's knit or it's purl.
Yeah, definitely weird for sure. I think I organically liked the other one. Hold on.
That is how you'd be surprised. Like, I'm surprised you picked up on that so quickly because most people way prefer purling knitting because it feels easier. I don't like when I get to purl rows because I'm like, it feels, especially because I hold tension in my right hand, and it's a lot more like having to throw it over top because you throw it when you hold it in your right hand, but if you hold tension in your left hand, it's more like a flicking. But it actually is a little bit more comfortable for you because you're holding tension in your left hand. It's a little bit less of a, because this feels like my hand's like just blocking the whole thing when I do it.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time. So I'm wrapping from the front. Got it. I just do not understand how I'm supposed to pull that through.
Okay, so scoot your hand back a little bit on the tension just to give yourself some room. I'm gonna try to hold my tension. I can knit continental, but purling continental, my body is just like, no, don't do it. I don't even know how to hold tension that way. Okay. All right, I'm going to just not hold tension at all. And I'm going to...
From the front, yeah.
This is me not holding tension and it gets loose. Okay.
Okay, so you're going into like kind of like the top right corner when you're... Okay, hold. Oh, nope.
I broke it. I'm going to fix it. There we go.
Yeah, I'm struggling with this part, actually.
Purling isn't typically anyone who's just starting's favorite. I've seen people who, they do this, I think it's called like a Norwegian purl or something, where it basically, they do manipulate the needles in some way where it's like almost knitting, but then it becomes a purl. And I'm like, okay, if I can learn that and I don't have to purl traditionally anymore, I would absolutely love that.
Okay, so we have this. Oh no, I was really hoping I could go this whole video or like this whole tutorial like not getting stumped, but
it's okay. If you need to see like slow, here, I'll even drop the tension in my right hand in case that's throwing you off. Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna turn it. So this is resting needle. This is active.
I'm gonna watch until it's got that easy.
Okay.
Easy. And then okay, so sandwiched between the two. Yeah, I kind of did like it. So I'm right here, and then am I going from the front to the back? And then now it's just how to slide it through the needle.
It's definitely having to, let me get out of this real quick. There we go. So it might be more nuancy things with holding your needle. So you're gonna definitely have to scoop it out more, especially. I'm gonna try to hold it.
Actually, I think
okay, so let me do it. Okay, I'm holding it.
I feel like this would be easier if like these knitting needles had like a small hook on them so I can grab it.
Okay, so I'm holding it continental style, and I will, don't make fun of me because I'm gonna be like, ugh. Okay, so I'm coming at it from this way. My yarn is in front. My hands are like, stop doing this. Okay, so it's definitely more of like a
Oh, so
pulling it back through.
I
like
see. You're kind of
this.
using like the. Okay, I see what's happening. I get what's happening. Hold on, I got this. I got this.
You've got it. I'll let you work.
And then, oh man, we already at 54 minutes. I want to make sure I learn how to cast off. I know how to do this, everybody. I just, for some reason, I don't know why.
No,
I just know off stream I'll be, oh, I got it. There we go. Big dubs.
It just takes like, yeah, it just takes like one time of getting it, and then you're like, okay, muscle memory.
Yeah, definitely.
But
Okay.
I'm going to verbally explain the casting off to you. And also, if we aren't able to fully get to it, it is in the interactive pattern on Ribblr, and it's like, it takes you through all of it. But what you do to cast off, and it's called a basic bind off, is you knit 2. And then when you have those 2 knit stitches on your active needle, you take the left one and you pull that first one out from over top and you drop it off.
Okay.
So it's just kind of like dropping that stitch.
And then casting off means like you're done with the project, or can I come back and pick it up?
You can technically unpick it, but when you're done with the project, that's called casting off.
Okay. Okay. So if I wanted, I was working on a project, I wanted to pick it up later, I just leave it on my needles and just hope it doesn't fall off.
Yes, that's why circulars are so good, because you can actually like kind of know where they are and know they're safe and know you're not going to rip them out and accidentally undo your work.
Yeah, the no circular thing seems like you're going on hardcore mode.
Yeah, like that's why I usually suggest, if you're just starting, go ahead and use those circulars, because it gives you that little safety net. I just prefer working with them all the time because I like them. And it's also different than crochet. But when you have a crochet hook, like that's it. You don't need anything else. But there's like so many different little tools that come with knitting. It's like there's double pointed needles, there's cable needles, there's circular needles, there's different lengths of circular cord. It's like there's so much more to it. And I think that intimidates people too. But like once you get like a set like you have of circulars,
yeah,
then like you're pretty good, because usually they come with like a bunch of different sizes of cords for different things, for different circumferences that you need to work with.
Oh, interesting. So I'm gonna just try for everyone else as well to do the cast off. So you said it was knit 2.
Yes,
so,
I just got to here we go.
Okay.
So it's knit your first 2.
So just like normal knit, like I would
just normal knit. Yarn in the back, come through the front. Okay, so we have our first 2 knit. I'll wait for you to catch up.
Yeah, the knitting makes way more sense to me than the other one. I'm gonna have to like practice the other one, because
you could just make an entirely garter stitch scarf. It's like, that's one of the cool things, is that you could just get really comfortable with knitting, and then you're like, okay, I want to tackle it again.
Yeah, that's cool. That's reassuring. Okay, so I did my 2 knits.
Okay, so you're going to take your resting needle and you're going to grab that first knit stitch that you made. I hold on to this one because you don't want that one accidentally to slide off, so kind of hold on to that.
Okay.
And you're going to bring it up over top of the second one and drop it off. And then after you drop it off,
these 2 come off. My 2 knitting needles come off.
You want it to, here, let me unpick that. Ooh, there we go. So we have our 2. We grab that first one that you did, so the one farthest to the right. Grab it with your left needle, pull it up, hold on to that second one so it doesn't fall off.
Oh, okay.
Yep, you don't want that second one to fall off. And pull it up over the top of the needle, and you want to drop that first one off. And then it's going to look really loose, so you kind of give like a little wiggle to the working end of yarn.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
cool.
And then what you do is you knit one more from that resting needle. And then you're going to do the same thing. Every time there's 2 loops on your needle, you're going to take
Oh,
that first one, hold on to the second one, and pull that first one off and drop it off and give it a little wiggle to help the tension. And you're going to
oh,
do
and you
that,
just do that the whole way?
yeah, yep, until you get to the very last stitch, and then you just kind of break it off, and then you pass that broken end off through that last stitch, because obviously you're going to end with one left.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Okay, that's not too
Yeah.
bad. So
No,
okay,
it's knitting, so that's like the fun one. That's the easy one.
okay, cool. Wow. Well, thanks for showing that part off so much. I was, hopefully everyone was able to learn something. I just want to get some information out. We have 15 seconds before I think this actually ends like automatically. But for everyone who came to view, I hope this was all very helpful. Make sure you are creating a journal so you can enter a giveaway for over $200 worth of prizes. And then it continues. I think, I'm not sure if it ended or not. I think
No.
we're still going.
Yeah. Well, I think we're at 55 minutes, so I think maybe it ends on the hour. So maybe we get another like
We get another 5
4
minutes?
minutes.
Okay,
I think
perfect.
so.
If that's the case, then yeah, perfect. So yeah, for everyone who's tuning in and viewing this awesome tutorial, we'll have the snippets up on our socials as well. Make sure you are creating that journal. I'll be making one myself. And we highly recommend checking out Darn Good Yarn's Ribblr shop. If you've been a Ribblr regular, you might have noticed out of nowhere that Darn Good Yarn has been posting and publishing plenty of quality patterns in both the knitting, and you have crochet patterns on there as well, yeah?
Yes. Yeah, I'm actually
Yes.
one of the people who made the crochet patterns too, and knitting patterns. But yeah, we have a
No,
ton
yeah.
for all different experience levels as well. We have the walk in the garden shawl, which I'm wearing right now, which is my pattern. That's a crochet pattern. That's a really good beginner friendly one. Simple repeats. We have market tote, which is both knit and crochet version. I'm actually going to turn the camera so I can talk to you guys and not
Oh,
just
perfect.
not just talk to them in like empty hands. So this is the walk in the garden shawl. I'm kind of wearing it as a little like bolero right now. I have it with a hair tie back there. Just ignore that. But we also have things like the market tote pattern, which is really good beginner friendly. It uses our ribbon yarn, which is super bulky, so it works up really fast, and it's a very cute pattern. And then again, that's in knit and crochet. Something we've been trying to do is to have both knit and crochet patterns that are the same thing. The design may not be 100% the same because it's knit versus crochet, and that's never going to be 100% looking the same. But we also have something really cool where if you really like free patterns, we have Yarn of the Month, which is a monthly subscription where you get 2 free patterns. There's a knit and a crochet version, and the theme of this year is Wanderlust. So we're going to be traveling all throughout the world. All the yarns are inspired by different places throughout the world, and the patterns are inspired by it. The name of the color of the yarn is inspired by it. It's like a whole immersive experience, which is really cool. And this month is actually Australia.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, the color is called Outback Oasis. And if you're kind of like curious about a little sneak peek, we have a sneak peek on Instagram and on our blog. But it's $25 a month. You get 3 skeins of our yarn, and you get free patterns with it too. And you get to join our online community that we have where people are like really cool and very knowledgeable. It's a great place to go for finding like-minded creators who are involved in like every single form of fiber art that you can think of.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, I'm like so pleasantly surprised with like the way the yarn feels for anyone who might be like me and who hasn't explored much of like and outside of your normal like commercial yarns. Definitely really cool to kind of have a new texture on your hands, especially learning that it's recycled. Love to hear that. I know, people try to be conscientious of the earth a bit more nowadays. So yeah, absolutely perfect. It's so fun to like learn this tutorial and the pattern. Since everyone who's viewing is in the interactive pattern, you can see it's pretty short, really easy to read, super plenty of videos as well. So Darn Good Yarn is a really great recommendation to learn knitting, through video tutorials. pretty strong YouTube channel as well. So yeah, definitely don't miss out. And you do live streams on your end as well, correct? For other like events and stuff?
Yes, yeah, we work with one of the people we like to do live streams with is Willie Smith of Willy Nilly Knits. We do knit alongs and crochet alongs with him. We also, each month, especially in 2024, when we have the Wanderlust theme for our yarn of the month, we are doing kind of like, we do an unboxing video where you can kind of get a sneak peek of the yarn. And we also do kind of like a behind the pattern, and we're getting some information and videos from the designers themselves and what their inspiration was behind it. And if it's like a piece, like a scarf, how to style it. So there's some cool stuff we're trying to do live to join everyone.
Yeah, nice. And I believe that the pattern for this scarf is still available till the end of the day, or has it gone to
Let's
this
see.
day? I'm not quite sure. Just in case anyone is joining late on the other channels, such as the YouTube and whatnot.
Let me check and see.
Looks like 7 hours left, it looks like. So we do have 7 hours left if you want to get this easy peasy scarf, the knit version of the pattern. The one I'm working on, you'll probably see it appear on socials. Definitely a great, at least for my perspective, a great knitting beginner pattern. So really great intro into it. Love seeing that there's a combination of both different stitches to kind of work those creative muscles too. So yeah, definitely make sure to grab your pattern if you haven't already. Interactive. I know you have other formats for your pattern, but we do highly recommend that. There is a $600 yarn giveaway. Just share your journal on the community section, and you'll be entered to win. So hopefully we get some feedback from y'all. Those of you who are crocheters to knitters. Those of you who have never touched, what do you call like the cutlery of crochet and knit fiber arts? Do we have a word for that?
Like the tools of it? No, the
Tool's so boring. I want like cutlery or something. That sounds cool.
Ah, man, now I have to come up with a cool word for this, and I'm gonna be like sit here, and then in the middle of the night I'm gonna be like, that'd be a really cool word for it. And so
yeah, we need something. Us fiber arts, the fiber arts scene definitely needs a little bit of a refresh when it comes to some terminology and stuff to make us back into the, we have so many people joining the fiber arts industry that
yeah, so many younger people, which is awesome. It's like it used to have this thing where it was like, oh, that's like a granny hobby, and I don't think anyone thinks that anymore. I think everyone's pretty cool and understanding that like this is a fun thing to do, and it's definitely relaxing, and it's a good way to spend your time, and you get something cool that you made out of it.
Yeah, definitely being able to binge Netflix like quote unquote productively is really cool. I know some people can feel guilty about spending 5 hours in front of the TV, but with needles or hook in your hand, it really doesn't feel like a waste of time in the slightest. So
yeah, it's productive relaxation.
Yeah. Well, I think my fingers are definitely feeling it a little bit. I think my tension is too tight for knitting. I'm going to work on that. So loose is okay for knitting, right? It's like
I mean, if you could actually try to be a little bit more loose when you're just learning, then you're going to learn how to regulate that tension a little bit better. But everyone, when they start out, they are a little bit more tight with their tension.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I think that probably concludes our tutorial today. Thank you so much, Sammi, for joining us today, for your time, especially on a Sunday. So thank you so much. I hope this was a nice way for everyone to start or unwind their day. I know for me, I'm kind of starting my day doing this, so this is actually, I feel productive. I could probably sit and do nothing and feel productive for the rest of the day. So thank you for
You could practice purling.
I could practice purling. Yes, I could definitely do that. Maybe I'll go jump on the elliptical and try that and really challenge myself. And I always wonder if there's ever knitting needles like hardcore mode that like they actually like stab you, that you could play.
I've seen something where there's this competition where it's like a metal concert and people are like headbanging to metal while knitting.
Oh,
and I was just like, that's a great way to get impaled. Like that's impressive.
Yeah, these aren't sharp, but definitely compared to a crochet hook, a little bit of something there. So awesome. Well, we'll make sure to add some of these clips onto our social channels and whatnot. And thank you again, Sammi, for being such an awesome teacher. I can't believe I learned it. Like, thank you. Yeah.
No, you did fantastically. Like you weren't scared, especially I thought the part where you would have to unpick the stitches, that usually is where like but it's a lot less scary hopefully now, and there's a lot of videos interactive in the pattern itself. So if you missed anything, you can catch it there. This will also go up on YouTube as well, so you can catch it in a bunch of different places, and you can always feel free to reach out to us at Darn Good Yarn too.
Awesome. Yeah, I see tons of the video icons in the pattern, so I'm definitely going to be making sure I spend the time on the channel and learning how to do that. Thank you again for the gift. I love having my whole, well, here in project, the whole thing of needles. So who knows what else I will make. I'm excited to design my first knitting pattern, hopefully this year. So
I think you can do it.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, take care. Thank you so much again for your time, and thank you for everyone for viewing. Really appreciate having everyone here, and we'll catch you on the next live event.
All right. Bye. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Bye.